Okay, let's take a look at the third chunk of Civil War Journal, which is lines 65 through 86. In this section, it asks us to underline details that describe Alcott's duties. So those are her responsibilities or the things that have she's been assigned to do. So we want to pay attention to the details of what she is supposed to do while she is being a nurse. And then the second one down says circle details that describe Alcott's patients, including John Sewer. So we're looking for descriptive phrases that tell us about her patients and specifically about the patient named John. And then the last thing it asks us to do is write something in the margin. We are going to come back to that bullet in just a few minutes. Okay, so again, we're underlining details describing her duties and circling stuff that describes her patients. You can obviously see what I've circled and underlined. Please know that you can circle and underline more than what I've made note of. Okay, so we are in 1863 in January. I never began the year in a stranger place than this, 500 miles from home, alone among strangers, doing painful duties all day long, and leading a life of constant excitement in this great house surrounded by 300 or 400 men in all stages of suffering, disease, and death. Though often homesick, heartsick, and worn out, I like it. Find real pleasure in comforting, tending, and cheering these poor souls who seem to love me, to feel my sympathy, though unspoken, and acknowledge my hearty goodwill, in spite of the ignorance, awkwardness, and bashfulness which I cannot help showing in so new and trying a situation. The men are docile, respectful, and affectionate, with but few exceptions, truly lovable and manly, many of them. I'm going to reread that sentence because I stumbled over that. The men are docile, meaning tame or calm, respectful, and affectionate, with but few exceptions. Truly lovable and manly, many of them. John Sewer, a Virginia blacksmith, is the prince of patience, and though what we call a common man in education and condition, to me is all that I could expect or ask from the first gentleman in the land. Under his plain speech and unpolished manner, I seem to see a noble character, a heart as warm and tender as a woman's, a nature fresh and frank as a child's. He is about 30, I think, tall and handsome, mortally wounded, and dying royally, without reproach, repining, or remorse. And I'm just going to pause for a second. Reproach means expression of disapproval or disappointment. So here she is saying he's mortally wounded. If you are mortally wounded, that means the wound is so bad that you are expected to die. And then it says he is dying royally without reproach, meaning he knows he's dying and he's not expressing any disapproval or disappointment in that. Repining, there's a little footnote that we can look at for that one. It tells us fretting or being discontented. So he is not sitting there like, going on and on about how he's really upset about the fact that he's dying. He sort of just accepted it and is handling it. Mrs. Ropes and myself love him and feel indignant that such a man should be so early lost. For though he might never distinguish himself before the world, his influence and example cannot be without effect, for real goodness is never wasted. Okay, so there's a lot of description that's a little bit hard to parse, meaning it's a little bit hard to break down and figure out exactly what she's saying. Over here, she talks about him being a common man in education and condition. What that means is that so she's already said he's a blacksmith. He's not somebody who is typically looked at with overly high regard. He's not, a doctor or somebody in a position that is like revered or looked up to. He's just a common man. His education is also common, meaning he doesn't have a college degree or an advanced education of any kind. Yet, she calls him a gentleman and says he's noble in character. His heart is warm, he's tender, and he's frank, meaning he's honest, and he's accepting what's happening to him. So he came to fight in this war, he got injured, and he is, I'm sure he's not okay with it, but he seems to be, handling the situation well. Okay, so the last bullet had asked us to summarize Alcott's feelings about her experiences. So when we write a summary, we shorten the information that's given to us and we put it in our own words. Obviously, the margins are the spaces on the sides, so you can find a space that works for you to summarize her feelings. I would look back at this area right here before you write your summary. She talks about it being this strange place and she feels heartsick, and she feels homesick, but she likes it. She finds pleasure in comforting the soldiers. She is excited by the experience. So she recognizes that there's a downside to it, that she has to be away from home and that she's surrounded by dying men, and that's really upsetting to her, especially when she sees this one particular man dying. But she's also feeling like she's doing something that is helping other people and exciting. So those are the types of things you can talk about in your summarizing notes. So go ahead and do that. And I will see you in the next video.